In 1974, crossing the United States wasn't just a vacation, it was a gamble. There were no GPS satellites watching from above, no cell service to call for a tow, and for a few terrifying years, there wasn't even enough gasoline to guarantee you'd make it to the next state. This was 10 years of chrome bumpers, glove box atlases creased beyond repair, and a kind of wide-open American freedom that no generation since has ever really touched. Behind the sunburned postcards and the faded Sea Rock City signs, there was a reason the 70s road trip became a fever dream of American culture, and a reason we eventually walked away from it all. Today, we're rolling back the odometer to the golden age of the American interstate. And we aren't just telling you about the cars, we're telling you about the culture of the long haul. A culture of leaded gasoline, hot vinyl seats sticking to bare legs, AM static rolling across 1,000 miles, and the smell of roadside grease drifting out of a Howard Johnson's at 2 in the morning. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why the 1970s was the final frontier of the American highway. Before the chains took over the exits, before the phones took over our hands, and before the mystery was scrubbed from the map forever. If you want to feel what that era felt like, start with what people drove. The 70s was the decade of the American land yacht. Cars so long, they were practically parade floats on wheels. The Ford Country Squire with its fake wood paneling, the Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser with its glass-paneled roof, the Buick Estate, the Dodge Monaco, the Pontiac Safari. Bench seats so wide, 4 kids could sprawl out and still not touch. A rear facing way back, where children waved at strangers for hours on end, making faces at truckers who honked their air horns in reply. These weren't vehicles, they were rolling living rooms. The dashboard was an acre of padded vinyl. The ashtray stayed open. The glove box held a flashlight, a tire gauge, a pack of juicy fruit, and a half-melted Hershey bar left over from last summer. And gasoline was cheap enough to justify the madness. 36 cents a gallon in 1970. You could fill a V8 tank for under $10 and drive until the horizon ran out. Dads carried a spare gas can in the trunk, a roll of quarters for tolls, and a thermos of black coffee that lasted from Ohio to Oklahoma. The navigation? A paper atlas. A AA triptych, if you were fancy. Where that spiral-bound booklet of hand-marked routes a real human being had prepared for you at the local office. If you missed your exit, you didn't reroute, you improvised. Getting lost wasn't a disaster, it was the entire point. Ask anyone who lived it. They'll tell you about the time the radiator blew somewhere outside Flagstaff, steam hissing up through the hood like a tea kettle, and a rancher in a pickup stopped, towed the whole family into town with a frayed nylon rope, and wouldn't take a dime for the trouble. Or the night their dad, half asleep at the wheel, pulled into a motel at 2 in the morning somewhere in eastern Colorado, the vacancy sign buzzing pink against the dark. A clerk in a cardigan handing over a brass key on a plastic diamond keychain. $8 a night, a television that picked up exactly 2 channels, on both of them showing the same Western. You'd end up in some nameless town, eating meatloaf at a diner run by a woman named Doris, and 20 years later, you'd still remember her face, the red checkered curtains, and the jukebox in the corner playing Patsy Cline. This was the America you could only find by accident. Drive long enough, and the roadside itself became part of the show. Stuckey's, with its turquoise roof, and pecan logs, your parents swore they wouldn't buy, but always did. Howard Johnson's, that orange-roofed dining room where every family vacation seemed to stop at least once, famous for its 28 flavors of ice cream and a bathroom you could actually let your kids use. The Holiday Inn sign burning bright on some empty stretch of 2-lane blacktop, a yellow promise of a pool, and a color TV after 12 hours behind the wheel. And the attractions. Oh, the attractions. The world's largest ball of twine out in Cawker City, Kansas. Mystery spots where balls rolled uphill and gravity seemed to forget itself. Alligator farms in Florida. Dinosaur parks built out of chicken wire and plaster. Wigwam motels shaped like teepees along Old Route 66, where you paid $6 to sleep inside a concrete cone. Every small town had a hustle, a gimmick, a strange little story painted on a billboard 10 miles before the exit. World's largest prairie dog, next right, and you always took the exit. Then there were the roadside picnics. Mom would spot a shaded pull-off somewhere in Pennsylvania. Came the plaid wool blanket from the trunk, the scotch cooler sweating in the grass, bologna sandwiches wrapped in wax paper, and a bag of Wise potato chips gone stale from the heat. Dad stretched out on the grass with his shoes off. A transistor radio played a ball game from 2 states away, fading in and out. For 20 minutes, nobody said a word, just the wind in the maples and the distant hum of semis on the interstate. Those were the moments that stuck. Inside the car, there were no screens, no headphones, just siblings, silence, and the slow hypnosis of the white line. Kids counted cows and lost count and started over. They fought over the invisible line down the middle of the bench seat. They got carsick reading Mad Magazine. They played the license plate game, hunting for all 50 states, and argued for an hour about whether Alaska really counted. And somewhere around hour 6, they went quiet and just watched. Watched the country change from pine to prairie to mountain. Those silent hours planted something permanent, a sense of scale, a sense of wonder, a sense that America was enormous and unfinished. But there was a shadow over the highway. In 1973, the oil crisis didn't just make gas expensive, it made it a vanishing resource. Imagine pulling into a neon-lit station in the middle of Nebraska, your tank on empty, only to find a no gas sign and a line of frustrated drivers half a mile long. People brought lawn chairs, they brought sandwiches. Some stations only sold to customers whose license plates ended in even numbers on even days, odd on odd. The whole country was suddenly rationed. The federal government responded by dropping the national speed limit to 55 miles per hour. Suddenly, and the vast American landscape felt twice as large and twice as lonely. This tension birthed the CB radio craze, a secret language used by truckers and families alike to dodge Smokey and find the next open pump. Breaker 19 became the prayer of a nervous nation. Handles like Rubber Duck and Big Bear crackled through dashboard speakers. A trucker out of Amarillo would warn you about a speed trap 200 miles ahead, and a housewife in a Buick would thank him like he was an old friend. It wasn't just a trip anymore. It was an underground network of people trying to outrun a changing world. Was the 70s road trip special because of the scenery, or because it was the last time we were truly off the grid, forced to rely on the kindness of strangers at a roadside diner? Maybe that's why we look back at those blurry Polaroids with such longing. It isn't just that we miss the station wagons or the 8-track tapes. It isn't the low gas prices or the sticky vinyl under our legs or the way a lukewarm soda tasted after 6 hours, buried in a cooler of melted ice. What if we hold on to the 70s road trip so tightly because it was the final chapter in American history when a person could genuinely disappear into the country? And what if disappearing was the only way anybody ever found what they were really after?